All right. All right, Derek. Well, it's exactly 10 a.m. sharp. Feel free to get started. We are on Facebook Live, and it's also being recorded. So anyone who's unable to make it or not able to see the entire thing, we will have it played back on Facebook. And of course, it'll be in the Academy uploaded by early next week. But it's all you, Derek.
Great, appreciate it. Thank you, Melissa. Thanks everybody for joining. My name's Derek Stillwell. I am the head of First Class Commercial, which is currently the commercial division servicing all of first class real estate, and of course Best Homes here locally with David and Alan. Appreciate everybody taking a few minutes out of their busy schedule. I know everybody's super busy today in these days, so I appreciate a few minutes of your time, and we'll try to keep it short, sweet. We're just going to discuss the basics and the introduction to commercial real estate. Just make sure everybody understands that it is a service that we offer in-house now here through Best Homes in more of a direct manner, and we'll go over some of those services and how to help you all uncover those needs of your existing residential clients, and also talk a little bit about how, if commercial is something that interests you, how we can now help you add that as another solid revenue stream and tool to your tool belt. So again, just appreciate everybody taking a couple moments with me. I was gonna, Melissa, do I just share screen and then pull my slides up?
Yes. Yep.
All right, let me we'll pull a couple things up here real quick, and we'll kind of take you through. Again, we'll try to keep it, pretty short and sweet here, and try not to bore everybody to death. At the end, I'll provide all my contact information, and if you know what, it's not working in the slide manner, but we'll do that. If anybody has any questions at the end, I'll always be available for calls, emails, and be glad to talk your ear off about commercial real estate, but we'll keep it pretty short and sweet today. Can everybody see my screen here with the slides? Am I sharing the right screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So just a quick introduction here, guys. Our mission statement here with First Class Commercial is to really focus on providing a first class experience and guidance to our clients in all aspects of commercial real estate and the transactions. We aim to provide real estate services in all capacities, but what I emphasize on, and what we will try to emphasize on as a team when it comes to sourcing business, providing leads, is acting as an outsourced real estate team for national brands and franchises. So a lot of the national brands you see that occupy commercial offices, retail space, a lot of those are going to be franchises, and a lot of those will actually be at the base level owned by small business owners, not necessarily large corporations. And there's a huge need out there in the market to service those franchisees and those small business owners and provide them representation and the same quality of representation that these large corporations are able to get from larger brokers out there. So it's a niche out there that we are focusing on, but at the end of the day, we are going to be able to help our customers out in all facets of commercial real estate. So just keep that in mind. Quick background, guys. I was born and raised here in Phoenix, Arizona. Graduated from ASU in 2006. I've been in commercial real estate since 2009. I started a company with my father at that time called Franchise Executive Consultants. And this is before I had a real estate license. And we really just focused on helping struggling business owners who had commercial leases during the last recession. If anybody remembers, there was a lot of struggling businesses, a lot of restaurants and retail businesses going out of business. You saw large vacancies in those centers, and our job was to step in and mediate between the landlords and the struggling business owners to get their leases and their rents restructured for short periods of time to help them weather the storm. We helped them all over the United States and consulted, with dozens of large national franchise organizations on their real estate related matters. And then as things kind of rebounded and the economy came back, those brands would approach us and say, hey, can you help us with our new real estate? Which of course led us into getting licensed and kind of, helping out from more of an actual commercial broker standpoint. Also did a stint with Merrill Lynch from 2010 to 2019. The reason why I bring that up is it's always good to have a good understanding of not just the real estate market, but financial markets when you're dealing with commercial real estate. A lot of times you're dealing with these individuals' investments. Their business is their investment, or they may be buying buildings as investments. And it's just good to have a good overall understanding of the market, of the economy, and kind of what's going on, so that you can provide them help and guidance and advice as they're making business decisions, because that's what a lot of this is coming down to for these clients, is business decisions. And then, as I mentioned, got my real estate license in 2018 and started transitioning out of the consulting and financial advising roles, and been doing full-time commercial representation since then. So real quick, guys, we're going to open up for questions and everything towards the end. Definitely want to make sure. But as far as today's agenda is considered, we're just going to quickly go over the basic different types of commercial real estate and transactions, so that you can understand and start to identify those opportunities when they come along. Quickly explain the steps in these different commercial real estate transactions and how they're handled and how they differ from the residential transactions, or maybe similar to some of the residential transactions that you do. Best practices for sourcing these commercial real estate deals and identifying opportunities, we'll touch on that. And then, of course, how to either make referrals once identifying commercial opportunities, or if you are interested in handling those opportunities and think that commercial real estate would be another tool in your tool belt, we'll talk about the commercial mentorship program, and anybody interested in joining the team, as well as doing residential, we can discuss that. So we'll just, again, hop right into it here. Few different types of commercial real estate transactions that you're going to come across. Most transactions are going to be broken down into either purchases and sales or leases. So again, very similar to residential. You're running into clients that either help buying, selling a house, or sometimes renting a house. You are going to run into the renting or leasing side a lot more often in commercial than you do necessarily in residential, unless that's what you focus on in residential, of course, right? Leasing, just so you're aware, leasing is, for a lot of these large companies, is 95 to 99% of what they do. The shopping centers you drive by, yeah, there's one owner of the shopping center, but they have done leases on each individual space that you think about, right? The grocery store anchor, as well as all the smaller tenants. So leases are very, very prevalent in this industry, and something that you'll want to engage with and get a really good understanding on, and not necessarily something you should shy away from. I know there's a lot of residential, agents that will shy away from rentals for one reason or another, but in commercial, you definitely want to learn those as soon and as quickly as you can, and you'll really see your portfolio of business expand quite quickly, because you're going to run into a lot of individuals that are looking to lease a place, but aren't necessarily looking to buy a large building or a shopping center or a restaurant pad or something like that. And then again, yeah, there's purchase, sale, lease transactions, including buying, selling, leasings of buildings and land. So where we get into a little bit of a gray area here is, and a question I get a lot is multi-unit or multi-family, right? So typically a rule of thumb is anything at a fourplex level or under is typically, you're going to want to look at that as a residential deal. When you start getting above that, or come across individuals who may be wanting to buy small apartment complexes and things of that nature, you're definitely going to want to look at those deals as more of a commercial based deal. So just to provide a little clarification there, because there is some gray area, and I've gotten calls from a number of Best Homes reps kind of asking about that. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear. Buildings include retail buildings, shopping centers, office buildings, industrial buildings, and then again, apartment complexes and multifamily above 4 units. Land is going to consist of retail pads, for purchase or sale or ground lease, and then lots zoned for commercial use. So obviously, if it's zoned for residential use and somebody's wanting to buy the land to build residential, that wouldn't necessarily be something that we would specialize in from a commercial standpoint. But definitely individuals looking to buy land and build buildings, build restaurants. I deal with a lot of restaurant franchisors that like to buy acre pads on a busy intersection and build a drive-through, right? Very popular these days. So those are all things that we can help out with. We'll touch on here steps in the commercial transaction. This is where you're going to notice some similarities and you're going to notice some differences within residential deals versus commercial deals. So let's start at the base here. How do you identify or how do you find somebody that's interested in doing a commercial transaction? That's really not all that different than what you guys do on the residential side. Of course, utilizing your sphere of influence is huge. Always good to let anybody that knows that you have residential real estate services, that you start getting out there one way or another, that you do offer commercial services as well. We did see a lot of people transition from the workforce over the last couple of years and open up small businesses. We also saw a lot of individuals do the same thing during the last recession when layoffs hit. If we go into another recession and corporations start hitting their workforces with layoffs, there are a large percentage of individuals that look at their 401ks and their current investments, and they take a look at transitioning out of corporate world and buying their own business or starting their own restaurant or starting their own retail store, whatever it may be. There's so many options. And just being top of mind for all real estate services, you'll start seeing this business trickle into your pipeline. So sphere of influence is huge. Networking is huge. Getting the name out there, the information out there that we offer these services. And then, of course, always asking for referrals that are looking to buy, sell, or lease commercial real estate. Doctors that for instance, doctors that you may be buying and selling houses for, attorneys that you may be buying and selling houses for, those types of small business owners, restaurant owners, mom and pop business owners. As long as it's not an at-home type business, they typically have some type of real estate need for their business in some capacity or another. So as you're getting to know your clients for their residential needs, it's a great opportunity if you find out that one of the buyers or one of your clients, I should say, is a business owner, to start probing a little bit and finding out if they might have some real estate needs behind their business. If you get an understanding that there are needs, then you can get into what their overall goals may be. And, if they have any of those real estate needs approaching in the near future, needing to buy or sell the current business for their, buy or sell the real estate for their current business, or their lease may be expiring soon, or they may need to expand soon. So again, there's just so many avenues that opportunities can present themselves. But once you do find a client through your source of influence, by networking or through a referral, you do want to start by getting an understanding of their goal and what they're looking to accomplish. So again, very similar to residential. But what you will run into a lot, and I'm sure you run into it in residential as well, is they know they want to lease a building, or they have a business, so they need to lease a building, but they don't have a lot of understanding of anything beyond that. They don't know what part of the valley they want to be in. They don't know how many square feet they need. They don't know what type of real estate or what type of retail areas are appropriate for them to look in. And so those are all areas where once you get some expertise and dip your foot into the commercial side, you will get familiar with very, very quickly. And you can start providing guidance to your clients that is really, really going to show your expertise and build that trust with them, to help them make well-informed decisions. And that's the name of the game here, guys. We're not here to make decisions for our clients and for our business owners. We're simply here to provide education and help them make well-informed business decisions. So the more up to date you are on the Phoenix market, the hot areas of town that are growing, where all the new businesses are coming, the more it's just going to play into your expertise as you help them, if you have a client that just doesn't know what they're looking for. And then again, you're going to run into clients that say, hey, look, I want to open a business. This is what I want. This is how many square feet I need. I want to be in a 2-mile radius of this section. And great. You don't have to go through any of that. Those clients will present their own challenges, right? They almost have too narrow of a view. But you're going to run into clients everywhere in between, from I have no idea what I need and I need help, to this is exactly what I need and I'm not going to settle for anything less. So I'm sure you guys run into that a lot with residential as well. So just kind of keep that in mind, that we are here to provide that guidance and expertise on the commercial side, just like the residential side, and not necessarily looking to be, transaction handlers and just make it a transactional type relationship. That is where you're going to get the referrals. That's where they're going to come to you back to grow their next units and open their next locations, is when you build that trust through expertise. Okay, moving on here, guys. If a client is buying or leasing, so this means that we are repping the tenant here on a commercial property. We are trying to acquire, either through purchase or renting, a property. The steps to do this type are pretty simple. And again, you're going to see this very similar to what you do on the residential, but you start with a market scrape. And basically you're doing a search, right? So the difference here is with MLS, you can set up subscriptions, you can get your client involved. I mean, the world of home buying, residential home buying, has changed dramatically since, the 80s. I remember I was a little kid and it was just like, you drive around with your parents. My parents would move every 2 years. And it's like, you're just driving from house to house to house. And the first time you're seeing it is when you're pulling up, right? Everything is very interactive these days. Clients are very integrated with selecting which houses they want to see, being notified through subscriptions, having access in a certain capacity to MLS. Unfortunately, that world does not really exist on the commercial side. There is a system that we have to pay for as commercial brokers called CoStar. It does not allow any of your clients to have access or set up subscriptions. So it really, really is on you to take the time to scrape the market and feed everything to your client within what they're looking for. So that goes back to the early education piece. You got to get an understanding of your client's goals, your needs, and exactly what they're looking for. And this part will be a lot easier for you, as opposed to just, sifting through 1,000 locations. You're never going to help your client narrow down and find exactly what they need. So we will help you with that here. We have tools. We'll show you how to do a market scrape, how to present to your client properly. After you have found a handful of units or locations or buildings, whatever it may be, that your client is looking for, it's important that you then reach out to the listing agents, the landlords or the developers that hold those properties. You do not want to assume because you found a vacancy or a property for sale on CoStar or LoopNet that it actually is still for sale or vacant. And again, this is where it differs from MLS, but it is not an automated system that just takes things off of the market once they're leased or purchased. So you got to do some due diligence and make sure it's still available by reaching out to the owner of the property before presenting to your client, because nothing discourages a client more than finding the perfect property and then going, oh, I just found out it was sold or leased 2 months ago. Your client's initial reaction is going to be, well, why'd you even present it to me then? Right? So very important that you make sure what you're looking at is accurate, because it is not automated like MLS. You're going to find out things are a lot more archaic here on the commercial side, which has its pros and cons. But this is one of the cons. Do not rely on data you're finding on vacancies until you verify with the owner that it's accurate. Once you do find out it's accurate, you're going to present all eligible options to your tenant and begin to educate them on each property's pros and cons. Again, they're going to be making the decisions on what they're liking, what they're not liking. But ultimately, once they do find the ones that, based on what you've presented to them, look like they meet the needs, you're going to set up tours, very similar to setting up, walkthroughs with homes. A little bit more archaic of a process. It's not done through showing time. It's just phone calls and emails, but you set up access to the properties, and you always want to get your clients in there if possible before making offers. This will weed out a lot of the issues up front that, maybe you run into something and they don't like the property anymore and shouldn't submit an offer in the first place. So set up a site tour, get them a walkthrough, get them on the property, and let's make sure it is what they're looking for before you're wasting their time or the landlord's time with submitting an owner, and your time, of course. Once you do get the green light from your client to go ahead and move forward and let's make an offer, you're going to go ahead and make an offer either through a listing contract or a letter of intent. And this is where we are really going to provide you guidance, especially if you're joining the mentorship program and wanting to do these types of transactions on your own in the future. Doing a listing contract or a letter of intent is actually 90% of the time a handwritten contract that you will be responsible for providing your client. Now, these are non-binding contracts at the moment, okay? So you do need to be very clear to your client that what we're doing is simply for a negotiation tool on the offer, but these are non-binding contracts that we're negotiating on at the moment. So they don't have any feelings or nervousness about having skin in the game before they're comfortable with the aspects of the financials of the deal. But just to show you real quickly, and we won't spend up too much time on it, this is what an LOI stands for letter of intent. It's what you use when you want to negotiate a lease. This is a template I use for one of my national clients, Jeremiah's Ice. And this was created by corporates, by me and corporates attorneys, right? But it's a non-binding document that will go through all 30 or so major deal points that you're going to find in a lease, as well as specific requirements from the brand you're dealing with. Like this brand requires that we have patios that have 4 tables with 16 chairs, right? That's not what you're going to run into with every commercial, but this is an LOI device specifically for this brand that we negotiate with every landlord for deals we're doing with this brand. As you can see, there's about 30 or so deal points here that you're going to end up negotiating. Plus there's exhibits, plus there's language that you'll get from your tenant and stuff if they're part of a national brand, signage. I mean, these things get pretty in depth, right? Not to get into it now. But what I'm getting at is this is a tool that you will get very familiar with, just like you're familiar with the purchase contracts when you do residential deals that you pull up in transaction desk, right? So you'll run after you do enough of them, you'll realize that all these sections, for the most part, 90% of them are the same, but the language is different. There's no standardized language for any of this, guys. So on one side, it's like, wow, that seems overwhelming. But on the flip side, you're also not bound into the restrictions, and you can flow a little bit more working a deal with language that makes sense specifically for what your clients are looking for. If a mom and pop ice cream store came to me, I'd use the same LOI, but I would shrink it and just remove all the stuff that's unique to Jeremiah's and Jeremiah's brand alone. And now I have just a shrinking down template that I can use for, Bill and Joe's ice cream out here, right? So this is the tool that you'll use for 90% of the deals, and we'll get you familiar with it. For 90% of the deals you're going to do on the tenant rep side. And on the tenant rep side, you are typically responsible for submitting the offer, submitting the lease offer, submitting the purchase offer. The good news is this isn't the lease, right? So this is just used to negotiate the deal. And we either get to a point where the deal works or it doesn't. If it doesn't, your client will end up walking away and you'll help them find the next location to try to work a deal on. If everybody gets to the point where the LOI makes sense and you sign the LOI, The deal is not done. Nobody is bound. Nobody is committed. All that does is give the landlord or the owner of the property the feel good to go ahead and have their attorneys draft the lease, guys. And this is where you're protected on the commercial side. Once the deal is negotiated through the LOI and the intent is negotiated, the attorneys take over. The landlord's going to have an attorney, your client's going to have an attorney, right? So we've kind of gone through some of these bullet points. We make the offer through the LOI, we negotiate the offer, and once the offer is accepted by the seller or the landlord, we're either going to open escrow and title will handle it on a purchase, or we're going to let the attorneys handle it on a lease. So from that standpoint, if you look at the big picture, it's not a lot different than residential. You have a document, you use the document to negotiate the offer. When the offer is finalized, you're either opening up escrow through title, or the new piece is dealing with attorneys to deal with the lease. But if you're just taking a step back from like a bird's eye view, the process isn't drastically different. It's just some of the tools you're using are a little bit different. And then again, you just oversee title or the attorneys to ensure a smooth and on-time closing. Best practices for sourcing commercial or real estate deal, guys. I know we've touched on some of this already, but again, just informing your source of your sphere of influence, that you now offer commercial real estate services. You want to update your social media if it's something that you're interested in getting out there and you feel that, you know, your followers, you have a lot of business owners, doctors, lawyers that follow you. Residential clients that own, operate non-home based businesses. Those are always amazing clients to convert into commercial clients. Like I mentioned, doctors, lawyers, restaurant owners, retail business owners. Networking, attending trade shows. I'll be throwing out there. Some trade shows are open to anybody and everybody in the commercial world. Others are open to, you know, exclusive groups that you have to be membership of. So I'll be notifying Alan and David and getting the word out there for networks and conferences locally that anybody can kind of join. And of course, any of these ones that are more exclusive, I have sometimes access to bring along invites, a couple heads. So if interested, I'll get those invites out there when I do have access, and anybody looking to tag along, just get a feel for what this world is about. More than happy to bring you along. Another thing is tracking here, guys. I'm sure, you know, any successful realtor has some type of tracking method. You're dripping on prospects, you're dripping on previous clients, sending out birthday cards, Christmas cards. I mean, whatever your method is, you're going to want to also keep up with that method in the commercial world as well. And just keeping tracks of all prospects as well. I mean, in the commercial world, you'll have prospects that'll let you know they're looking for stuff, and they're just in the world looking for buildings. You know, they may be in a position where they'll make a deal, but it takes them 2 years to get around to making a deal because these are large commitments they're making for their businesses. So just what I'll do is I keep a running list of everybody that, and I know what they're looking for. And as different projects hit my desk, I make sure to send those out, those marketing flyers out to my clients that I know are looking in this area or this type of building. And, you know, a lot of times they give you no response on them, but eventually something will hit their desk that's going to pique their interest. So just continuing to drip on your clients, and then keeping track of, this is a big one here, guys, keeping track of your clients' leases that are expiring or plans to, and keeping track of the plans to expand their business. When you sell a home to somebody, there's no exact end date on when they're going to sell that home after they just bought it, right? With leases, it's completely different. You know when that thing's starting, you know when that thing's ending. So there should be no reason that you are not following up with your client 6 months before their lease is up for renewal, before their lease is expiring. Those are all opportunities for you to either get them to work with you on another transaction. Maybe it's time for them to expand. Maybe they're shrinking and they need a smaller. There's just so many things that can happen towards the end of a lease, and you have all that data and know exactly when to follow up with them. Some of these leases, guys, can be 5 or 10 years long. So having a long-term tracking system, if you're looking to do this as a long-term career, signing a lease now could be business you're building 5 or 10 years from now as that lease expires. So that's, again, just the basics. I wanted to keep it to roughly about a half hour here, so I didn't talk your ear off and just, bombard you with information overload. But really, the last section where we open it up to questions, I just wanted to touch on really what to do or what you can do if you have a client that needs commercial real estate services, or simply know somebody that wants to learn more about becoming a commercial real estate agent. So for anybody that has a client looking for that has a commercial need, I should say, if you as an agent just don't have any interest in learning the commercial ropes, don't want to get involved with the transaction, just don't see that as something that you want to get involved with, that's perfectly okay. But just know we're here to make sure your client's needs are taken care of. You can now keep your referrals in-house and make sure that they're well taken care of. All you have to do is give me a call. We actually have a couple other gentlemen, I believe they're on the call as well, Christian Rivas and Michael Byer, that are going to be joining the team here shortly. And we're going to be growing the team and expanding the team, guys, not just locally, but nationally. And I'll touch on that in a moment. But we'll get you a standard 25% referral fee just for making a referral. You do this, we close the transaction, and you get a check for literally, no work on your end. This does not just need to be locally. This can be in any state that First Class Real Estate has a footprint in. So keep that in mind. If you go to First Class Real Estate, you go to their website, you'll constantly see the map being updated with new branches that are opening. If we have a footprint in those branches, we can help them with commercial real estate in those states. So please keep that in mind. There is a little bit more fluidity and flexibility with commercial real estate and working over state lines. And there's different capacities to do that. I work directly with landlords in Texas. I have no middleman in Texas, no boots on the ground in any of our Texas branches, and that's just fine. You will run into landlords that require you have boots on the ground, and that's when we call one of our local branches and we find somebody there to be our local boots on the ground. So we have different avenues, what I'm getting at, to capitalize on business in other states. So please keep your ears open for that. This does not have to be Arizona clients that you're working with. And then the mentorship program, like I just mentioned, Christian Rivas and Michael Byer are going to be coming on, joining the mentorship program. And I have no doubt sooner than later, they'll transition from the mentorship program to senior commercial agents here with us. But we are going to be providing training to anybody that's looking to break into commercial real estate. Unfortunately, anybody who has their real estate license, if you go back to your training, they maybe mentioned commercial real estate once or twice in your training in getting a real estate license. There is no formal training out there to be a commercial broker. Myself and 99% of brokers that I know obtain training through finding a mentor, through finding somebody or a company that understood the ropes already and was willing to teach them until they get the hang of it or get to the point where they feel that they kind of, seen the gist of what they need to see and can continue on their own. So, please keep that in mind. Don't feel like you missed something when you were getting licensed. They just don't discuss it out here when you're getting licensed, and you do not have to go get a different license. I get that a lot. Do I need to go back and get you? No, your current license suffices. So you're good to go there. What we will do is it'll be me at this point providing step-by-step coaching and mentorship until proficiency is established in the different transaction types that we discussed above. If you sell houses, you're going to get buying and selling commercial real estate very quickly. Some of the forms are the same, process is the same. It's going to feel very familiar. Leases are the whole other world, where realistically it could take you close to a year of consistently doing leases till you get to the point where it's like, okay, I think I've seen everything and I'm not getting curveballs thrown at me on every deal. When you are dealing with leases, there's typically a savvy landlord on the other end of it if you're dealing with commercial retail space. So we're going to provide you, and this is really where I specialize in, is lease negotiations, dealing with landlords, dealing with their attorneys, getting deals done for national brands so you can capitalize on that national client base through those national brands. So there will be a 50% split during the mentorship program while you're being trained in the different facets of the commercial real estate transactions. But we are going to be teaching you the latest negotiation tips and techniques. And that's what I want to stress more than anything here, guys. To be successful in commercial real estate, you cannot be a transactional broker. You cannot just pass back an LOI back and forth through email, hoping that deals get done, not making phone calls to brokers, having discussions with them, negotiating. A lot of these negotiations, frankly, have to be done in conversation with a lot of context provided behind it. So what I'm getting at is these negotiation tactics are constantly changing because the market is constantly changing. We've had to develop a number of new tactics since 2019 because the market has shifted so dramatically since 2019 into the landlord's favor. So we're going to be teaching you not only the basics, but some very, very in-depth negotiation tactics that large national brands are frankly going to expect that you understand and know to give you their national business, which again is the business you want to go after. And this stuff, again, is going to help you among your peers out there. The good news is in the commercial world, there's not 50, 60,000 of us pounding the pavement here in the Valley. It is a much smaller group in the commercial world. You're going to run into the same landlord brokers. You're going to get to know them. They're going to get to know you very, very well. And you're going to see very, very quickly who understands kind of, the art of how to negotiate and others that are just transactional brokers. And you'll stand out and you'll rise very, very quickly if you concentrate on negotiations and building relationships and rapport and all of that. Once proficiency is established on the commercial side, obviously we want to try to get you transitioned as quickly as possible. You will graduate from the junior commercial agent, and then you'll move up to an 85% split, and then also be eligible to start receiving leads provided by the team. As I mentioned, my goal is to build the relationships with large national brands. My goal is to have a team that is going to be handling the transactions for those large national brands, as opposed to myself handling all of the individual transactions. Because frankly, if we end up with 12, 15, 20 national brands under our umbrella that all have 50 franchisees across the US, I won't have the bandwidth, right? And the goal is that I want to just continue to build the relationships with these brands and have the team that the leads and the franchisees and the tenants in the business will trickle down to. But obviously, before we can get you there, we have to be confident that you understand the LOI, how to talk with the landlords, and provide what these brands are simply going to expect to sign these national contracts with us. So there's a lot of room for growth on this side. Definitely another avenue for you guys to put another tool in your tool belt. And if it's something you take to, as I've told Christian, as I've told Michael, I'm not here to tell you, hey, you have to do commercial and you're not allowed to sell houses anymore. In fact, David would not want me saying that. That's the opposite. That's literally the opposite, right? So don't take it that way. This is not an either or, guys. This is just simply another avenue for you to explore to see if it's something you would excel in, along with selling homes, so that you can offer everything to your clients. And frankly, you still need to be selling homes on the side, as I do. For the first, even if you want to concentrate on commercial, you have to be selling homes. As I told Christian and Michael coming onto the team, you can get commercial deals rolling today. You will not see your commission checks rolling in. And this is the big different part. You may not see your commissions rolling in for months to, unfortunately, years after you sign a lease. I mean, I'm signing leases on new developments in Gilbert that are dirt right now. I get my first half commission now. I'm not going to see that other half to like 2024. Okay. So you have to be prepared. This is a very difficult side of the industry for somebody to just jump in brand new, no pipeline, no emergency savings, no assets coming in or paychecks coming in from residential closing. So, just keep that in mind. Residential is a huge piece to the puzzle and being successful in commercial and adding that to your tool belt. Here's my contact information, guys. I'll open up to questions here in a moment, but please take down my contact information. Questions, comments, concerns, referrals. This is where you go. 7 days a week. Whatever you guys need, just give me a holler. I'm here to help. So we can go ahead. I don't know if there's a specific way to open up or if everybody just unmutes, but questions, comments.
I just want to add real quick. Anyone who wants to do this and do commercial real estate really needs to go through the mentorship program. It's just too important, and there's too many things to get wrong. It's really a requirement that everybody go through the mentorship program so Derek can fully train you and make sure you're fully prepared to handle clients and all that. So it's just not something you jump in, as he said repeatedly, and expect to be able to have any success at first, but be good at it and protect your client's interests. So the mentorship program is really key. And Derek, I just want to add, I didn't realize you worked for Merrill Lynch. I did too. I was a broker for almost 6 years.
Oh, really? We'll have to chat about our horror stories offline.
Yeah, exactly. Another time. But thank you for a really, really good presentation. Anyone have any questions?
Hey, Derek, Adolfo here. When you were talking about letter of intent, so I guess it's different compared to providing proof of funds or any bank statements or anything that shows your obviously proof of funds. So the letter of intent covers all that.
So they will eventually ask for, and then again, if you're doing a purchase, you'll use a slightly different document than this. And yes, you will submit proof of funds on a purchase. On a lease, it's a little bit different. You use an LOI like this and typically don't get into financials right away. But this LOI will go back and forth a couple times, being what we call redlined. Means like we send it to the landlord, they'll like literally cross out what they're not in agreement with and counter offer that section. About 2 or 3 back and forth on the LOI if we're getting to a place where it's like, okay, you know what, I think the deal's moving in the right direction. You're going to want to submit, usually the landlord will request it. You're going to want to submit a personal financial statement for your client. So that's a breakdown. And I've got a template for that too. Everybody needs it. Assets, and then equates into like a net worth figure, right? Crazy part about it is you can literally just have your client fill one in, send it over, and landlords take it. It's not like they ask for an audited version. Occasionally, they may ask for a bank statement. If we say we got $1 million in cash, they may say, okay, just send me like a copy of your bank statement showing you got the cash or whatever. So it's real basic like that. But what I will get into, guys, and you bring up a good point, kind of along the letter of credit side of things, is financing on the commercial world is different, for lack of a better word. It's an absolute nightmare right now. So you have to go through SBA most of the time. If your tenant needs financing, you need to make sure that they have access to that financing before you start wasting a lot of time searching for a place just to find out that SBA didn't approve them. And here's the problem with figuring that out, guys. Now you don't take a client to look for a house until you got your pre-approval letter, right? That does not exist in the commercial world, unfortunately. So you really need to sniff your client out and feel them out and make sure they're solid. Like, have you talked to a bank? What has the bank told you? And if you're getting the whole like, yeah, I'll figure it out once we find a place, you need to explain to them that right now, SBA is taking 6 to 9 months to fund a loan. They're extremely backed up from PPP. The whole stimulus program for business owners during COVID. They handled all that. They've never gotten caught up. They furloughed a bunch of workers. So bottom line is make sure they've got an avenue to financing. If they're trying to put it off, get them engaged with SBA now, not later. and try to make sure that they're moving that along. And the reality is SBA isn't going to get off their duff until you find a space, but at least they've got an application and they know who your client is. And then you're really going to have to manage that process and set proper expectation to the landlord or the seller. If your client is working with SBA, you know, you're typically not going to close a commercial deal within 30 days. You need to let them know we're working with SBA. It's going to be a minimum of 90 days, most likely. So long answer your question because it spawned another thought there. But those are all things you can come to me on when the time comes, and we'll make sure your client's submitting the right paperwork at the right time.
No, that's good stuff, good information as well. And in addition, do you guys work with somebody that can build their, because there's your personal credit you can use, and then that helps you build your business credit. How does that, do you guys work with somebody that can help somebody guide them to that, to build that business credit up?
Well, the business credit is going to be dependent on how long they've had their LLC or entity established, right? Because business credit, you need to establish an LLC or an S Corp or something like that and get a separate tax ID. I'll be honest with you, even the most established business owners that I work with set up a new entity and new LLC for every location that we buy or rent. And here's why. If you go to the LOI right here, you're going to find this, and this is something that you'll learn how to negotiate, because this is one of my pet peeves if it's not negotiated correctly. Landlords are going to want a personal guarantee no matter what. I'm working with a franchisee right now that's got a 7 or 8 figure net worth, owns 70 units in Houston, opening another 46 here. Literally, landlords could care less. We've tried providing them multiple other LLCs to guarantee the lease that have other units in them and good credit and good assets. Landlords don't care. They want to clamp guarantee to your lease into your personal assets if you're a small business owner. Most landlords are going to try to clamp a guarantee on the lease for the full term of the lease. So if you're doing a 10-year lease, they want a 10-year guarantee. That means if you go out of business anytime within the first 10 years, they come after your bank accounts, your house, your cars, your personal assets, right? It's our job to get that guarantee to be as small as possible for our clients, to protect our clients as much as possible. So unfortunately, in the business world, your business credit score doesn't mean a whole lot until you get to the point where you're like a big corporation and they'll accept a corporate guarantee from you. Until then, personal assets, personal guarantee, and most tenants are going to set up a new entity for each one of their stores. So that if one store goes bad, let's say you got 70 restaurants, one store goes bad, you don't want that landlord being able to come after your entity assets for all your other stores. You have all of your other stores secluded within different LLCs, right? So again, not to get too deep into the weeds, it's all stuff you'll learn and stuff that, you know, frankly, if you have a strong tenant, their attorneys help them out with. It's not really your call. But that's what you're going to see. I do not, and I have never ran into anybody who has gotten denied a deal because their business credit was not sufficient enough.
Gotcha. Makes sense. So you're pretty much protecting your assets when you're just getting a new LLC for each, transaction.
Yeah. The only time credit may pose a problem is, again, when you're getting lending. You go to SBA and trying to get a loan. Whoops, you got a 500 credit score. We're not going to lend to you, right? So other than that, I do not deal with credit, and credit does not become an issue. I mean, I've got another large franchisee, tons of money, tons of stores, terrible credit. Landlords don't care. We've got a ton of money in the bank to come after if we stop paying the lease.
Cool. Thanks for that info, man.
Yep. What else, guys?
Hi, Derek. How long is the mentorship program?
Well, again, so that's going to come down to, it's really hard to say. What it's going to come down to is your proficiency within the different transaction types. And it doesn't have to be proficient in everything and then we move you on. So what I'm saying is, let's say after 3 purchases, do 3 purchases and 3 leases. The 3 purchases are quick, easy. You have little to no questions. You handle it all. You clearly show you're proficient in handling a commercial purchase. We'll move you to senior agent on the purchases side of things. But on the lease side of things, if it's, struggling with certain aspects of the negotiation, getting, the deals done and completed to where we need, or the clients, the brand satisfaction. And, if the proficiency isn't just simply demonstrated and we just feel that there are areas that we just need to make sure that are locked down, then we'll keep you on the mentorship on that side of thing until proficiency is established, right? We're not here to hold you back. And quite frankly, I don't have the bandwidth to keep everybody on the mentorship program forever, right? So the sooner everybody could figure it out, become proficient in transition, it's going to be the better for the team. The faster we can grow, the bigger we can grow. But on the leasing side, like I mentioned, it's complicated. It for myself, and everybody has a different learning curve. I'm sure people learn a lot faster than I do. It took me close to a year to get to the point where I was not calling my mentor on a daily basis, asking him questions. How do I handle this? How do I respond to this? How would you talk to this attorney about this? What do I do to make sure I don't blow this deal up? So, it'll be touch and go on the lease side of things. I just have to be honest, but because I want to get you there on the lease side of things as soon as possible, because that's honestly where the business that I lock down will start flowing from, is on the lease side of things. So the sooner we can get efficient on doing leases, the better. Does that help?
It does help. My question is, when you start, how does it work? Do we bring our own clients, or do you provide? How is exactly that process of mentorship?
In the mentorship program, it is self-sourced clients. So it's clients that you're bringing, we're mentoring you, we're guiding you through how to handle your client. We're not, and again, on the mentorship side, so you're not just doing handoff referral. You're still your client's point of contact. You're involved in communications. You will be 100% brought into the fold on all the side communication that we have with the landlord, the owner, the attorneys. You have to get familiar with the language used, how to speak to them. Here's the basis, guys, what I'm getting at. It's dry. I mean, you're dealing with attorneys and business owners, and you're not talking about where they're like raise their kids, right? So doesn't have this, it very rarely has this emotional aspect to it that residential has. And that's the piece you need to get. You come off some of these calls like, are they even interested? Like, what's going on? It's like, no, yeah. It's just like, this is business. They're dry. They're having this conversation and then another business, you know what I'm saying? So you got to get used to the flavor of dealing with the different parties. But the big thing is this document. As soon as I get a feeling that you can run with an LOI for an in-depth LOI and understand what's appropriate for things like personal guarantees, rent commencement, making sure your client isn't paying months of rent before their registers are ringing. I guarantee you your client has a 50% higher chance of going out of business within 2 years if this is not negotiated correctly. I mean, we're dealing with things here that can make or break your client's future if not done correctly, right? So that's why I take it very, very important, or I take it very, very seriously from the leasing side of things. Purchases, you guys will get, you've sold a couple houses, you'll be able to buy and sell buildings very quickly. In fact, there's some MLS forms that we can use that look almost like the residential purchase agreements. A couple different changes, but it's the leasing side. And it really comes down to how many leases you do. If you just do one lease every 6 to 12 months, you're not going to get a lot of experience, right? But once you transition from the mentorship side to the senior, that's when you'll be eligible to start receiving referrals as well as bringing in your own business. Because at that point, we know we can hand you a client, you can run with the client, and it won't be myself or somebody else actually like handling all the work for you in the first place, like on the mentorship side, right? Because we're gonna hold your hand on the mentorship side. Weeks, nights, weekends, guys, it doesn't matter. We're gonna hold your hand to get you the knowledge and the experience you need.
Derek, what would be the one of the tips or a couple tips to get clients? I guess obviously social media and spreading the word, reaching back to your clients. I know you mentioned a couple of those. Maybe they're like Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, or those type of meetings or meetups. Does that sound about right?
Who's talking?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Adolfo.
Hey, Adolfo. Okay, for some reason I thought that was Christian. For some reason, awesome ideas. That's the type of stuff you need to be thinking out of the box on, right? There really is no limits. Here's how. I'll give you a point, just a personal point of reference on how I did it. When I was transitioning out of Merrill more into full-time, from investments and consulting, I'm like, okay, I just want to be a broker full-time. I sat at my desk every night until like I would literally just fall asleep at my desk some nights, and I would just message the director of operations and head of real estate for major restaurant franchises across the nation. So does everybody understand the difference between a corporation and a franchise? Corporations are difficult to go after because they typically have their own in-house real estate people, or these bigger corporations. I mean, you talk about Chick-fil-A, right? They're a franchise. Think about a big corporation. They're skipping my mind right now because so many are franchise. But think about somebody that just doesn't franchise. They're a big corporation. They've got their own in-house real estate people, and if they don't, they're so big, they've most likely been like wined and dined and flown across the country by CBRE, and right, like that's not us. We don't need to compete for that. Like we don't need to be renting private jets. So there's plenty of business out there, guys. What you do want to do is go after the franchises, because here's the thing: the franchises, they have an in-house real estate team, but that's the corporate side real estate team. They're there to be the hand over their franchisees to make sure their franchisees follow their standards, but they are not necessarily involved with finding and securing the real estate for their franchisees. So I always like to go to the head instead of the bottom, right? I go to the head and let them know we offer national real estate services in these states that you're growing in. Marco's Pizza, to start out, the Marco's Pizza, you're growing in all these states, and I offer commercial services in all of these states here, right? So I would basically be emailing the chief development officers, letting them know I'm here, I want to chat, let's discuss. I'd love to hear about what your growth goals are for the next 2 years, what your real estate needs are for the next 2 years. I mean, just hitting them up through LinkedIn, Facebook. I mean, you can do Facebook, you do Instagram. That's all a little bit more personal. I've always had a lot more luck on the business side with LinkedIn. So that's how I started. I mean, I would just sit there for 4 or 5 hours a night, messaging big corporations, large franchises, medium-sized franchises. I'd be researching top 10 franchises that are growing this year. Maybe they're not big yet, but they will be big and they're growing. Those are easy companies to get in front. I mean, it's a lot easier to get a hold of the chief development officer of a 100-unit franchise than it is a 2,000 or a 10,000 unit franchise. There's so many layers to get to the top people by that point when you've grown that big. So it's, my strategy, and everybody can have a different strategy. My strategy has always been national franchises under 1,000 units that I want to target for new clients that have the potential to grow well more than 1,000 units. That has been where I target, and I specialize within the restaurant world. I just speak the restaurant language. My parents have bought and sold restaurants my whole life. I was, sweeping floors in a Dunkin' Donuts when I was 3 years old because they had a Dunkin' Donuts franchise. So that may not be the language you speak. Christian's coming on board. He speaks a different language, and he had a different business, not the restaurant world, but a different industry that he's going to target, right? So I think it's important, what are you interested in, or where do you have connections in, or is there an industry that you think you can target? You don't have to be so broad and just say, I'm just going to target everybody who needs commercial retail space and just blast email them or on LinkedIn. It's, find a little niche, start there, and then expand upon it. You can come after restaurants like I do. I mean, again, there's so many fish in the sea right now. that, that would be how I go about it. Take a targeted approach if you're going to be going after online, communications and stuff like that. And anybody who's looking to do that, guys, I can help create a flyer. I had created a flyer for my consulting company at the time, or the team at Best Homes. We'll create a flyer through Canva that in the little, hey, I want to chat about your real estate needs, that will attach in the LinkedIn message that gives them a quick breakdown on, it's got our logo, and we're in, we want to be presented as a national team, and we can do business in these states. And it doesn't lead them to like hunt down who you are and why you're contacting him. Let me go to his LinkedIn page and where's he from and what big company is he from? I mean, just a quick little paragraph blurb, a little attachment, and bam, I would just hit them all night. If I didn't hear from a month later, I hit them again. Hey, checking in again, So again, long answer to your question, but that would be one of the main, that's how I went about it, and could be easily a way that you go about it. Source of influence, again, is the other one I'm going to throw out there. Just anybody that knows you do residential should also know that you offer commercial.
Cool, man. Thank you for that.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you repeat again the website where you can find exactly the states you offer services?
Yeah, it's just First Class Real Estate. firstclassrealestate.com, and then you can hit on the locations right here. Go down to the map. And there you go. So obviously a lot of south and southeast. I mean, there's just so much activity and growth when you think about everybody that's moving to Texas and Florida right now, with just everything that's gone on over the last couple of years. I mean, even people that I'm running into here know people or business owners that are growing in Houston and growing in Dallas, growing in Orlando. So again, it's just all about being trained, about keeping your ears open for those opportunities. I'm sure people have mentioned stuff to you before about so-and-so in Dallas or so-and-so, and it's just about knowing now that you can start capitalizing on opportunities. I mean, right now I'm working with Pelican Spirits liquor company that just got developed, like Total Wine. That's what their concept is, high-end wine. And I know a couple developers, and anybody familiar with Dallas, I guess there's still counties that are dry. The Bible Belt stuff going down here, there's dry counties mixed throughout here. Well, a lot of that stuff's being overturned. So I have developers that are giving me the heads up on when the votes go through to overturn from dry to wet counties. And then they're allowing us first preference to enter the market as the first wine shop. Well, right now, I'm being told all the soccer moms are driving 40 minutes each way to stock up on wine for the house, right? They like good wine. So the only way I knew about that is because I was talking with a Marco's Pizza franchisee here in Phoenix that says, hey, I know so-and-so that's opening up, Pelican Liquor. Can you help with anything in Houston? Absolutely. Put me on the phone with them, please, immediately. And they've been awesome clients, right? So just expanding the horizons and being able to do this under the First Class umbrella, guys. I know it may be hard to kind of understand at the moment, but this opportunity is an opportunity that 90% of commercial brokers don't have with the big commercial broker outfits. If you go to CBRE or you go to, the other national commercial brokerage outlets and you're here in Phoenix and you're like, hey, I got a Houston deal, I'm gonna start working these Houston deals. They're like, no, you're not. You're gonna refer that over to the Houston branch is what you're gonna do. Right? Because they've got 150 brokers in Houston over there that do commercial. So they literally just like wedge you into your little territory, right? So guys, really, sky's the limit here. And as First Class expands, our footprint to be able to do commercial expands as well. Now, let me preface this. And again, I know we're kind of running short on time here. It if we need boots on the ground, we've got clients in these other states and you're like, you know what, how does this work in the other state? Just know we've got boots on the ground, either through First Class or other brokers that we can find. And occasionally, guys, frankly, I'll run into clients that I know are going to be a handful. They're going to demand a lot. And it's going to be hard to get that client to work with you when they're here and you're here. And I get that. Okay. Especially if you don't have if they're a new client, you don't have the trust with them yet. Give me a call. We have brokers in Dallas that will be there face-to-face, that will be their boots on the ground, that will drive them around, that will get them access to the sites. Yes, we're going to have to give them a cut, but if it means securing the deal and not securing the deal, we always secure, securing the client or not securing the client, we always secure the client if it means having to get somebody else in. Because I guarantee you referrals will come from that client if we take good care of them.
Gotcha. So pretty much that allows us to network with the other branches that are out there.
Correct. And what we're doing here, guys, eventually the goal is to, reach out to all the reps at these other local branches. In fact, I'm going to be going out to Virginia Beach for where the headquarters are located here, and just making sure everybody knows that, every branch operates independently, and I get that. So they could have individuals that are fine doing their own commercial in here. But we just want to let everybody know that there is more of a national localized source for those that maybe don't have anybody doing commercial in their branch or anybody to teach them how to do commercial in their branch. So as we build, we'll bring the local reps into the fold for the mentorship program, and those reps will graduate from mentorship to senior. And then it's, you guys can just refer directly to them as the boots on the ground at that point in time. If you have clients there that, I always recommend, I always try to keep control of clients. So my Pelican guys, they don't need boots on the ground. They're born and raised in the Dallas, Houston, they know the area. They know where they want to be. They don't need any hand holding. They don't need anybody face-to-face. Great. I'm their only resource that they need. We don't need to bring anybody else into the fold. But there will be other clients that, hey, I just moved here like 6 months ago. I know nothing and I need a local market expert. I am in no way, shape, or form saying we should sit here and act like local market experts for all these markets, because frankly, guys, we're not. What other questions, guys? I know we're running over on time here a little bit. I don't want to chew up anybody's day here. I'm totally flexible.
Well, I mean, if there's still time, I was just curious how the real estate market compares to the commercial side versus the residential side.
Great question.
Like, what do you see? How are you seeing this market? Because it's pretty much shifting on the residential side with the interest rates going up. Where do you see the commercial real estate side of things?
Definitely cyclical, like residential, like everything. Doesn't necessarily flow in equal cycles like residential. So that is another benefit of knowing how to do residential and commercial, is they don't necessarily ebb and flow at the exact same times. Obviously, everything's been just on full tilt here, the last 18 months. I don't do a ton of residential. Okay. Last house I sold was, 30 days ago or so. I sold a few within the past quarter. I mean, it was just pure pandemonium, right? I mean, I didn't even plant a stake in the ground, and it was 10 cash offers with no inspections and appraisals. That was 30, 45 days ago before the most recent rate hike and all that. So I don't have a direct perspective on what's happening on residential. I'm hearing there may be some price reductions going on in certain areas. I'm hearing we may not be getting 10, 12 offered, like peak frenzy where we were, 3 months ago. It has not hit that yet, unfortunately, on the commercial side. Good real estate, and again, I'm talking good real estate. We can go find a dumpy warehouse on the west side of town somewhere, no problem, right? Okay, that's not the issue. We're talking good commercial real estate. If we're talking franchise brands, we're talking restaurants, it's still at a heightened frenzy for a couple reasons. The government dumped in a bunch of money into the economy to keep business owners in business when they had the shutdowns, right? There are a lot of businesses that probably should have gone out of business that simply did not go out of business because the government kept writing them checks that they didn't have to pay back. Got through the pandemic, things started to open up a little bit more and they survived, where realistically they probably should have gone out of business. So what happened was there was a vacancy that should have been created that didn't get created. So there's been very little vacancies to hit the market over the last 18 months, even though we were projecting in April of 2020 that, oh my God, commercial real estate is going to fall apart. Shopping centers are going vacant. Everybody's closing. What's going to happen? Literally the opposite happened. Then you couple that with the fact that new commercial building came to a standstill for about 12 months. No new inventory coming to the market. Then you add into it that these major corporations and big corporate franchises that have growth goals. I know 5 chief development officers that lost their jobs in the last year because they didn't grow in 2020. Well, how do you grow in 2020 when the world is shut down? Boards don't care, CEOs don't care, you're losing your job, you didn't grow in 2020. So the issue is you've got these big national franchises and restaurants, quite frankly, that are making up for 2020. They have 2022's growth goals, and then they need to add into it 2020's growth goals. So every LOI I'm submitting on new developments, I mean, I'm doing new stuff down in, outskirts of town, Santan Valley, Queen Creek, where the brands want to be, where the houses are coming, where we're not too saturated yet. And I'm dealing with battling against 7 other offers with corporate guarantees on every LOI I submit. So we are still landlord in full control, peak frenzy, rental rates at the top with no sign of coming down, franchisees buying businesses, new franchisees looking for real estate. It's not going to continue forever. I'm very aware of that. It's just not showing. Interest rates are not the determining factor on the commercial side as much as they are on the residential side. So we're not seeing that yet. Inventory is going to have, it's supply and demand. Supply is going to have to increase either through building or people going out of business, or demand is going to have to go down. What's going to cause it? I don't know, but it's just not stopping yet. In the major markets, you go to the Midwest right now, I'm sure things are slowing down. You go to the Pacific Northwest, I'm sure things are slowing down. I just don't do a lot of business there. South, Texas, Texas, Louisiana, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, obviously Arizona, Nevada, absolutely on fire right now. Denver, Colorado.
Got it, man. Thanks for that.
Yep.
Derek, what kind of pay we are looking at on commercial, let's say on lease, because you said 90% of business is on lease. For instance, you are leasing a space, $5,000 a month. I have no idea how much a McDonald's or a small chain place have a lease, or even a restaurant, let's say $5,000-$10,000 a month lease.
Yeah.
And if you do a 5-year lease, are you getting paid on what? Are you getting paid on just the first year, on the whole lease? How much you get paid? You get paid 2%, 5%? I mean, okay, if I want to pursue commercial real estate, I've been in residential 25 years successfully, but I mean, it's what kind of money? I know that if you are buying or selling land, big buildings or land, it's one story, but on lease, what kind of money you're looking at?
Yeah, you're very right. Purchases are just like home purchases. Yeah, it's typically 3% of the price goes through escrow. You get paid at closing. Clean and simple, right? Leases are a little bit trickier. So great question. The big thing to be concerned about, and again, this is where you have to balance your client's needs and wants versus your commission, right? And that's what I was getting at earlier when I was saying you do not want to shy away from leases. I didn't want to come straight out and say, because you get paid a lot for doing leases. You do, if they're done correctly. So, because, I don't want it to be all about the comp, but you can make a really, really good living working on strictly leasing. To answer your question, it is based on the initial term of the lease. So that's why I prefer, and I frankly like working with large national franchises, because when you buy a franchise, let's say I'm going to buy a Jeremiah's Ice franchise, they're going to make me sign a 10-year franchise agreement with corporate. You always want your franchise agreement to match up with your lease so that everything expires at the same time. So you can decide if you want to renew everything or bail. So you're going to be doing 10-year leases 99% of the time, either 5-year with a 5-year option or a 10-year lease. You get paid on the lease term. So the longer the lease term, the larger your commission is. Okay. Now, with that being said, we'll teach you the right way to do things here. There are many, many scenarios where even though your client has signed a 10-year franchise agreement with corporate, we're doing a 5-year lease with a 5-year option, and you only getting paid on the 5-year deal because you don't get paid on options. You only get paid on the initial lease term. But if it's in your client's best interest to do a 5-year term instead of a 10-year term, we're going to teach you when that is, and we need to really abide by that and keep that in mind. So we'll discuss that. We don't need to get in that minutia now, but you are paid on the lease term. Obviously 10 years is the best. And yeah, it's all negotiable. Standard is 3% of the gross lease amount over the initial lease term. So in your scenario, $5,000 a month. That's $60,000 a year. Times 10 years. My calculator would work. That's $600,000, right? If you negotiate, and again, you do this in the LOI, there's a negotiation section for commissions. If you negotiated 3% on that, you get an $18,000 check on that lease at $5,000 a month. Obviously, if it's a 5-year deal, it's half of it, right? But it's got to be negotiated up front. In some of these really, really expensive deals, like, you know, for instance, some of these new developments right now, I mean, the rents are like $45 a square foot, right? So let's say you're at a $45 a square foot rent, and, you know, for instance, my liquor stores, they're 3,000 square feet, those Pelican Spirits. He's paying $135,000 in rent a year on a 3,000 square foot. So think of like the size of like a Subway sandwich shop, but twice that size. So the size of like a normal Subway shop, that's like 1,500 square feet. It's like, you know, size of double the size of a normal sandwich shop. Not a very big space, guys. Over 10 years, he's going to be paying $1.35 million on that. That developer actually provided a 4% commission. So on that lease, it's a tiny little space. I mean, when you think about it, a 3,000 square foot in the world of retail leasing is very small. You'll take home a $50,000, $55,000 commission on that. The issue is you're going to get half of it now. You're not going to see the other half till like 2024 when the place gets built and they open for business. You get half when the lease is signed. You get the other half when your tenant pays their first month of rent. So you've got to be prepared for the long game. This is the long game. But if it's done correctly, guys, you could easily set yourself with 6 figures of income in a year that's 2 years down the road before we even get there. So you've got to look at the short term versus the long term when you're getting into commercial and working with these national brands and new developments and quite frankly, helping them with their development plans. And the long game is in everybody's best interest because you're getting your clients the best real estate. You're getting them the new developments, the hot developments, the place everybody wants to be. And you're doing yourself the best as well. At the same time, everybody wins because you're doing the 10-year leases at the higher price points, assuming it's appropriate for your client to be paying this type of rent with their business model, which is a whole other conversation we'll talk about in the mentorship program. And you're getting tip-top commissions on these deals. Yeah, you got to wait for it, and that's a bummer. But if this is what you're going to do as your career, I mean, guys, a couple years after being in this and setting that path, once you've got that path set and you've got like six figures of generated income coming in before you've even secured any new deals for that year that's starting, there's a great way to make a great living in this industry. It's, do you want to invest in yourself first is the question.
Sounds a little bit more lucrative than doing residential rentals for $200 that cost you $300 in gas.
That's what I was getting at. I know many, quite frankly, I don't want to do residential rentals myself, so I can understand if there's many out there that don't as well. And I had the same connotation when I got into commercial, where like leasing, like, ugh, like it sounds gross, you know, like, like it just sounds like a grind. It sounds like a nightmare. It's very lucrative. It's very lucrative. And to be honest with you, you're going to run into a lot more referrals if people want to lease than want to buy. I mean, to buy a basic building that you're not going to live in and spend $1 million, and it's not even something you physically use, like you're going to run into something like that a lot less frequently than you're going to run into small business owners that want to lease. And then you do a good lease for them. I have done zero, other than LinkedIn and stuff. In my career, I've done zero marketing. It's all networking and it's all referrals. And my phone at this point will ring on a weekly basis with, I got your number from so-and-so.
Okay, and in order to do business with you, we have to move our real estate license, obviously, with your company.
No, I am sorry if I didn't make that clear. We are Best Homes first. So guys, just so everybody's aware, First Class, like Best Homes Real Estate is a franchise of First Class Real Estate. Look, we're here.
Yeah, but if you're not already at Best Homes, then you do have to move your license.
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't know. Yeah, if you're here and you're not already at Best Homes, then yes, you will need to move your license to Best Homes Real Estate. And then you can do residential under Best Homes. And you can be on the mentorship program as well on the commercial team. The First Class Commercial is a team underneath Best Homes, and Best Homes is underneath First Class Real Estate. So it's kind of like Inception. We're going multi-layers here. But I just want to make sure everybody's aware that, David oversees all of this. Alan's very involved as well on the commercial things. And I am not a broker. I am just simply a team lead for the commercial division within Best Homes.
And what kind of the commission structure they have, Best Homes?
We can get that information out to you. That's something that you'll want to discuss, and we can set up a call directly or a chat between you and Alan. Mm-hmm. Is that what you would recommend, David? Anybody interested in discussing the residential side of things?
Yeah, either Alan or Melissa.
Great. Yeah, we'll get you plugged in with the residential side of things to talk about their, they have a couple different models basically to pick and choose from. And so Alan or Melissa would be the best to go over that.
Can you list their information somewhere to know their name and number who should call out? It doesn't tell me anything. Oh, okay. I see a number.
Say that one more time.
Yeah, the information when you signed up, it should have been, Alan's information was there when you signed up. I'm not sure how you signed up, but I think you all had to get tickets. And that was all Alan's information on there. But we can get it to you otherwise too.
Yeah, if you don't have Alan's information, just here, you have my information, just email me and I'll connect you. We'll get you plugged in. What brokerage are you with now?
Keller Williams.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to discuss making a transition, we'd love to chat with you about that for sure.
Hey, Derek, I want to jump on when my kids are outside and it's quiet. So it's Abby. Okay. So, I've had a couple of deals that, like we've been kind of working on, but nothing's kind of come through on that. So essentially then am I missing out on anything as far as the mentorship program goes, or is that just kind of start when I officially get something going with the clients that I'm working with?
Yeah, that's up to you, Abby. I know we've been kind of on hold while they kind of work out some of the other stuff they had going on the side. So once you get them back on the hook and they want to start, having us present options, then, I assume, and you're more than welcome if you want to join the mentorship program, that a lot of this has been flushed out since the last time you and I sat down and talked. So you haven't missed anything. And yeah, I'm ready to go and bring you into the fold here and get you rocking and rolling with your clients when they're ready, of course. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
We're still in contact, but like just nothing has pushed through yet. But we're just kind of hoping. So
yeah, I'm here and ready to rock when you guys are.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to hear from you.
Hi, Derek. My name is Samantha. I'm working with a few commercial clients right now. I have 2 franchisees and I have a chiropractor as well. Okay. I'm having trouble finding locations for some of them, especially because they need a ground lease and just land in general. So I know I've been working with them for quite some time, but I wasn't sure if you had something that maybe some insight that could help us out, or maybe we can talk one off about the mentorship or whatever. I mean, what are your thoughts with that?
Yeah, you can definitely give me a shot one off and discuss. And again, it's a very common issue. There are a couple free sites that you can use out there. The big one, the main one is LoopNet, if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, I use LoopNet and Crexy.
Yeah, okay, and Crexy, yep. You're only going to find so much on that stuff because it's free, right? What they ultimately are trying to get you to do is sign up for CoStar, which I do have to do. Unfortunately, it's like 30,000 something a year, right?
Yeah.
So very, very, very expensive. That is a resource that we provide here on the mentorship side of things. So if you want to discuss joining the mentorship program, getting some assistance with those clients and those transactions, then we can start utilizing the system as well to start digging up those ground. What state are they in? Here?
They're in Arizona.
Okay. Another thing that comes on with the mentorship process, guys, is you can't, in something that there's no website that handles, is I mean, it's just the relationships. I mean, I don't want to say it any other way or come off as, cocky or anything like that, for lack of a better word, but there's just simply a number of developers and landlords out here that control most of the land. And so a lot of times it's just simple as knowing who they are and emailing and reaching out to them saying, hey, I know you've got all this land or you control this area. What do you have for us? This is my client. This is what we're looking for. And so I can start on the mentorship, we start plugging you into those relationships. If we're working with you and working with your client, we're immediately going to get an understanding of your client's goals. And then, start doing the market scrapes and showing you through CoStar and through reaching out to those brokers to figure out what they got. And honestly, as I was mentioning earlier, that's what it comes down to is really just archaically pounding the pavement. And let me explain how archaic it can get, guys. My clients from Marco's Pizza, who are based out of Houston and corporate is in Ohio, they all flew out here. I've presented them 100 sites that I have found. But they flew out here. We all hopped in a car and we drove around on Monday and we still found more sites that we didn't know about. And I've done market scrapes every week through Crexy, LoopNet, CoStar for 3 months. And we found more sites. So unfortunately, a lot of stuff is found by getting in the car, driving around, finding those posts that are in the ground with the developer's name, phone number on it. There's a lot of that. So we'll teach you all the tips, all the tricks. Take down my information, Samantha, and definitely give me a shout on the side and we can discuss a couple different options on how to help you with your client.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
When you come over to the mentorship side of things, actually, before I make this a confirmation. I'll need to check with Melissa and Tristan and everybody. If not in the mentorship program, definitely when you graduate to senior commercial agent, we will provide you a first-class commercial email address and handle.
Oh, okay.
That is important when you're trying to do business. And I've run into a few best homes, realtors that have run into this issue, and they found out very quickly. Unfortunately, and I don't necessarily agree with this because I think it should be open to everybody. There's a term in the industry called resi-mercial.
Yeah.
There's a lot of brokers and landlords and landlord reps that just look down their nose at any type of commercial broker that also does residential. Unfortunately, there's a lot of them that will not even call you back if they think you do residential, or they call and they get your voicemail and it doesn't also talk about a commercial. So not that you need to, start rebranding yourself. That's not what I'm getting into, but I can help break through the ice if you're running into any of that. Hey, I've called on 3 vacancies here, haven't got one call back. Sometimes just leaving a voicemail, Eric with First Class Commercial, checking on if you'll get a call back. So just let me know if you run into any of that. I think it's completely ridiculous. I don't agree with it, especially with the model we're taking here, where I think you need to always, if you're going to do commercial, you also need to be focused on residential, if that's where you're coming from.
Yeah.
So don't take any of that. Don't let it discourage you.
Yeah, I don't. I usually just bug the crap out of them until they finally call me back or email me back. So
You gotta be
very persistent.
Persistence is key in this industry.
Yeah. I learned early on that you gotta stay consistent. So
a lot of that becomes really easy when you're if we get your First Class Commercial email handle and you're just sending the hey, checking on this vacancy, and then you don't, it's just a non-issue, a non-discussion at that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Cool. Thank you. I'll definitely reach out one off.
Yeah, please do. I'd love to learn a little bit more about who you're working with.
Cool.
All right, we got anybody else?
Very helpful, Derek. Greatly appreciate it.
Appreciate everybody's time. Like I said, take down my contact info. Any other questions come up, I'm here. Call, text, email, whatever you need. And yeah, let's just start bringing as much commercial building, commercial awareness to the business as possible. So again, there's a handful of us here, but we have so many brokers in-house. So y'all have relationships with other brokers in-house. Make sure they're aware that I'm here and available, and we've got this team that's available to them. And just start keeping your ears to the ground and let me know how I can help and support, guys. I'm here and I'm looking forward to working with all of you at some point.
Good.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Derek. Yeah, and if you guys have any questions, we have the recording. It's going to be in the Facebook group if you guys want to watch that, and we're going to upload this to Best Homes Academy. So thanks a lot, Derek. We'll make sure to put your contact info below on the Facebook group too, and hope everyone has a good day.
Thank you, you too.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Derek.
Thanks, guys.